It's the 4th of July, and welcome to our special edition of 30 with Tony. This is Marcus, and today's subject is, the next thing they want is your independence. But Kimo Sabi, they ain't going to take that from you. And right now, you are thinking about the weekend. So sit back, enjoy the show, and let's get it on.
Well, hi, Kemosabe's. It's Tony D'Angelo. It is Independence Day, July 4th, 2024, Ada Domini in the year of our Lord, 2 years away from the bicentennial, actually the 250th anniversary of the United States of America. I don't know if you I guess it's the bicentennial plus 50. I still remember 1976 as a much younger man. But welcome to another edition of 30 with Tony, this special Independence Day edition. While you're out having fun, I thank you for tuning in. I thank you for popping this up later. If you are otherwise occupied at the 3 o'clock hour. And I wanted to show you something today. Are also very grateful to each one of you and all of our music contributors. I think you'll like this week's music, but I think we had a great start on the way in, don't you? But anyway, I want to show you something today that really dawned on me when I was driving around last weekend on my weekend errands with my trusted mutt and my 15-year-old car, the Black Beauty. And we were just kind of musing, and I thought, this is something that I think is the crux of so many things that we see today and we hear today. And since in a lot of cases, people that are in their 20s and 30s want to dictate to us, they have no idea. But, I maintain to you that there is nothing new under the sun, and we're going to show that today because it's the same stuff that we're seeing. Now, we're at a critical inflection point that I'm going to show you that's a little bit different just because of the mental and physical weakness of the United States of America and of society. But our subject is the next thing they want is your independence. The next thing they want is your independence. And fitting and apropos of this Independence Day, I want to show you some things that have happened throughout the course of history, at least the course of my life, and what has taken place and where we're at right now. And you're going to see some very interesting parallels, and you're going to see some stark contrasts, and you're going to see what people did years ago. I maintain they were better people than what you have today. I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot more these days as far as what people, the characteristics they're exhibiting today. It doesn't take a whole lot more to be better than, what the heck they're doing. And I'm going to put you in a place where you're going to see what you have to do in order to preserve your independence, preserve your sanity, preserve your way of life, and preserve your way of thinking, because they are going to come for your independence. And I'm going to show you how they're going to do it. But first, let me just give you a little background. There has never been a point in time, probably going all the way back to the fall of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, where there hasn't been some human calamity. We all like to walk around in our, whatever you want to call it, our present day dispensation. Dispensation's a fancy theological term for a period of time. We like to walk around in our present dispensation. Like, oh, it's never been this bad. The world's coming to an end. And for all the times I've heard that throughout the course of my life, somehow the world survived. Now, I will tell you, in, shall I say, looking up and down the bench of some of the players that are out there in the game today, yeah, I have my doubts, just like you do. But it's interesting how people overcame some of the worst things that they ran into in their lives. And a lot of this was dashed expectations from people whom they put on a pedestal, or they had every reason to believe these people were as they represented to be. And as time went on, we found out that they weren't, and somehow managed to recover and somehow managed to grow out of it. So I'm going to take you through some crises of the past and bring you to the crises of the future. And I'm going to show you at the end that the next thing they want is your independence. So allow me to do a little screen share. Nifty new program download that I really like. And here we go. Here's an article. This is August 22, 1997, Hartford Courant, and give you a little bit of background here if I can. Speaking specifically of the Roman Catholic Church of America, I can't really speak for the Roman Catholic Church in other countries. I have not been to the Roman Catholic Church in other countries, nor do I have exposure to them. But it started to come out, I would say, on or about maybe, by my recollection, 1985 or so, that a number of parish priests, priest being the spiritual head of that Catholic congregation, were men that were homosexual men. And shall I say, I'm not saying this is wrong or right. Different strokes for different folks. Draw your own conclusions. But what I am saying is the Catholic doctrine as it was taught back then, and as it is taught in churches today, is a strict Christian doctrine where the family, the nuclear family, the traditional family, mom is a biological woman, dad is a biological man, and the kids are biological boys and girls. I'm just taking this right to the bare metal. That's what was taught. It was a family, shall I say, centric church. And the parish priest, who more often than not, I mean, there were some really, irascible, perhaps worse Catholic priests, but the Catholic priest in many cases most cases, was a beloved and trusted figure. He was looked upon by the people in that church as shall I say, the virtue symbol for all things that were taught in the doctrine as it was taught. Now, as we moved on until I'd say maybe the early 1990s or the mid 1990s, there were some horrible stories of male adult priests abusing male children, biological male children, to some of the peanut gallery. And the stories were horrific. This particular article in 1997 speaks of a gentleman, because Frank Martinelli, and the first incidences of this particular shall I say, practice, were really in my dear old hometown of Stamford, Connecticut, where the gay reading hour was in the Ferguson Library. I said, I believe it was last week on the Lee Elsey show, Stamford, Connecticut could go to hell. Well, I guess it had its roots kind of, way back here. And Mr. Martinelli, he was older. If he's still with us, I hope he is, the poor man. He was older than I am, but I think he was closer to my deceased brother's age. Talked about how the clergy was sexually abusing him as an altar boy. And this was horrible to hear about. Now, me, myself, and I'll say two things. Number one, the Catholic Church, really, you talk about the Democrat Party, you talk about, some of the PR scams and schemes that we've talked about, these turning on to be many years. But the Catholic Church really is almost like the father of spin machine here, because they did, to my sickening displeasure, a marvelous job of explaining all of this away on the grounds of forgiveness, where if you are a, shall I say, Bible-believing Christian, if you are, I'm not telling you to be, I'm not telling you not to be, you believe that the abuse of a child is the worst thing that could possibly go on forever and a day, and well, it should, because the Savior, Jesus Christ of Nazareth, said, anybody that harms any one of these little ones, it'd be better for them if they were thrown in the sea with a millstone around their neck. So whatever respect I had for the Catholic institution at that time, I lost it. That all said, Mr. Martinelli was really the first in a series of, children, boys and girls, coming out saying, I was abused by a priest, while, maybe even by a nun. I don't really know of, at least at the top of my head, if there were any notable shall I say, occurrences or historical happenings with that, but still it would be wrong. But kids were coming out and saying, I was abused by the parish priest and told not to tell my parents. And the church paid, and it paid, and it paid, and basically spun this thing to where it is. But for whatever reason, did not, shall we say, really hold the people causing this act to be accountable. And this hurt. This is what I'm really getting to. Now, I will say this. When Mr. Martinelli, when Frank came out with this, I thought to myself that, as a, I don't know, 9-year-old, 10-year-old, I thought I wanted to be a priest. Thought I wanted to be a Catholic priest. And my mother, when she heard this, my very devoutly Catholic mother, thought it was wonderful. She took me by the hand to see the parish priest. At that time, I think they had moved us to St. Bridget's Church in Stamford. Can you imagine actually new churches being built because people wanting to go to church? And the parish priest said, well, great, let's take Anthony, as I was known then, to see what was known as the Maryknoll movie. And the Maryknoll movie was a movie where young boys would go and they would have a dinner sponsored by the parish priest, and they would watch a movie. We didn't have videos and iPhones in those days. We had these clickety-clack projectors, and watch this movie, this beautiful pastoral movie of a priest doing acts of kindness, helping villagers, being nice to the animals, giving communion, praying, helping. And it was, at that point, I was moved. I wanted to be a priest. And so the lights go on, and the parish priest says, and do we have any questions? Now, one of the kids, a little bit older than I was, said, Father Guinan, I have a question. If we are priests, can we get married? Can we like girls? And Father Guinan said, well, no, that's part of your pastoral sacrifice, that you will love God and him only. Now, I do not believe that is me, myself, and I do not believe, based on my understanding of the Bible, I do not believe that is an absolute for service to God, because Paul, the apostle, straightened that out in the epistles. But the Catholic model at that time was, we're going to follow what Paul the apostle did, and have all our priests be celibate and single. Actually, Paul was the guy saying, if they want to marry, let them marry. Draw your own conclusions. Again, different strokes for different folks. And I heard that, and I started right around the time when I started to like girls. So I walked down the stairs after the movie, and I had a really long look in my face, and got into the back door of the Chevy Bel Air, and my mother, with this glow on her face, said, what did you think of what happened? How was it? I said, it was terrible. I said, I don't want to give up girls. It's like, I don't know, maybe my wife, maybe both my wives would feel differently about that, but it's just that kind of thing. And I thought about that, because I said, my desire for, quote unquote, the opposite sex, okay, I offended somebody, save me from the abuse that was going on in my town that Mr. Martinelli faced. And that's the part that's not funny. But this broke the heart of a lot of people. But what did it do in the long run? Well, it made the believing Christian, a lot of believing Christians, more diligent, more aware, more questioning, more, shall we say, demanding of accountability for their churches. And in a number of cases, not entirely, cause for a house cleaning. However, there was a number of brokenhearted people that were left behind who either couldn't believe it happened, because it was pretty unbelievable, or they just kind of said, well, that's not, they really didn't tell, that's just the kid was lying, and that sort of thing. So, but the majority of people at that point who were decent, believing, and strong, and loving God said, we're going to, move forward personally, let the institution do as it wants. Now, we're going to proceed from the very spiritual to the very spiritual. Here's a fella I can't tell you what this man meant to a kid growing up in the greater New York metropolitan area in the late 1950s and 1960s. Uh, there may be some people out there that don't recognize him, so allow me to elucidate. This is Mickey Mantle, 18 years a New York Yankee, member of the Baseball Hall of Fame. Mickey on paper, or shall I say the story of Mickey, was a family, the official story was a family-loving Oklahoma, out of the mines, humble farm boy who drank milk and actually drank Yoo-hoo and was just that good, sweet, decent, everything American. Every kid wanted to be Mickey Mantle because Mickey Mantle was presented to us as one of great athletic skill, family values, and human virtue. Now, a funny thing, not necessarily funny, happened on or about, I'd say, 1970, 1971. There was a Yankee pitcher at the time, very intelligent fellow. I liked this man very much. Bob Lazari and I got to interview him. Jim Bouton. To the baseball fans out there, Jim Bouton was a fine baseball pitcher who hurt himself, who learned the knuckleball, came back and pitched, and was a highly intelligent and multi-talented individual, passed on about 5 years ago. And he was an incredibly unique individual. He worked on television news. He was funny and entertaining. And I can't tell you when Jim Bouton had the inclination, if you will, to chronicle his experiences with the then expansion Seattle Pilots baseball team in 1969 and write about them in a diary and make a book. I can't tell you exactly when, at least to my memory, when that happened. But the thing that Mr. Bouton did do was that he wanted to show America, not maliciously, that fellas like this fella here, who meant so much to us all, weren't angels on baseball spikes, that they were, had a lot of human frailties, alcohol, women, gambling, other kinds of things like that. So he felt the American public and the American kid should, and at this point had grown up from the ideals of Mantle. I still like the ideals of Mantle, but he felt that it's about time we really knew who these people were, that in many cases they had feet of clay. And he told a number of stories about Mickey Mantle and other ball players that, were humorous. None of them were, shall I say, shocking beyond belief by today's standards. But to a kid growing up, they were like, how dare you do this to my idol? It's a trauma, for crying out loud. And the Jim Bouton for many years was hated. Mickey Mantle wouldn't talk to him. The other players were, calling him names and, how dare you do it? Because as he explained to us, as he explained to Bob Lazari and myself, that the major league ball player at that time was a grateful mill worker or a grateful farm boy. He never thought he would have it so good. And he didn't want anybody coming in and ruining his gig, basically. So somebody like Jim Bouton, who was college educated, who was generally of a higher intellect than these guys were, was not necessarily, if he can go out and win you a baseball game, he was wonderful. But on a personal basis, not somebody they would sit in the bar and have a drink with necessarily. So I can't describe it, but the pallor that was cast as far as baseball was, how dare you do this, Jim Bouton? Now, this book came out when, we were in high school. The waiting list for this book was longer than my arm, and I've got pretty long arms. And basically because we needed to read the stories of Mickey Mantle wasn't drunk. Whitey Ford, chased women. I mean, it was like unbelievable. Some of the stories he didn't put names to because those are kind of more of the racier ones. And he was chronicling the people that he was playing with that particular year. But what did this do? It made all of us look and say, well, Mr. Mantle here is a human being. Mr. Mantle has human frailties. Mr. Mantle, actually, we respected Mickey more because of the fact that one of the things Jim Bouton told us was that Mickey Mantle would have to sit in a whirlpool 3 hours before and after every game to get the pain out of his knees. And he would wrap himself like a mummy to play ball. And on we go. But basically, it was the ideal of baseball, of milk and apple pie and, playing all these whatever, however you want to term it, all of these virtues were, not necessarily so. But what happened? Were there really kids that were so disturbed and they never played baseball again if they loved it? Well, not for that reason, but we all moved on. And, if we loved the game, we continued to play the game. Notice what we have here in this instance and in this instance is that the love for the institution, or in this case, the love for God or the love for baseball, kept us older, wiser, perhaps not as idealistically minded and moving forward. So let us go to the realm of politics. How can we avoid that? This man needs no explanation. Perhaps he does. John F. Kennedy, uncle of RFK, Robert F. Kennedy, who's now running for the presidency of the United States, 35th president of the United States, assassinated in Dallas, Texas, November of 1963. My favorite president ever, forever. This man set down things that he did not get to complete, but he set an example for us in fitness, in space, in education, and in building a strong America. He made some policy mistakes. He recovered from those. He made some government mistakes. He recovered from those. And, just believe me, a man who was a Democrat, but today would be a conservative Republican because he believed in the right answer and he believed in low taxes. And he believed his term was a rising tide lifts all boats. Now, Mr. Kennedy, as time went on, this is actually, I would say, longer about maybe the 1970s. He was also a Catholic. He was also, for all intents and purposes, a family man, lovely family, married to probably one of the prettiest, most gorgeous women at that time in the world, Jacqueline Kennedy. She was the prize. I mean, that's why Aristotle Onassis married her after she was widowed, because he wanted to show his Greek, shall I say, competitor or rival, Stavros Niarchos, that he could get the hottest girl on the planet, so to speak. But basically, we heard stories about some of the indiscretions of John F. Kennedy. Again, the next thing they want is your freedom. Keep that in mind. And it was shall I say, Mary Pinchot Meyer, Judith Campbell Exner, Marilyn Monroe, a couple of teenage girls he would mess around with in the White House pool, and we did not know about this because it was not covered or reported on. They kept it well secret. and well hidden. And by the time we got to Phoenix with John F. Kennedy, how could I put it? We looked at the great work he had done, and we saw his human indiscretions, and we didn't hold that against him. We didn't, at least me, myself, and I don't condone marital infidelity, no way, shape, or form. But I look back to what the man did, much like people with Donald Trump today. Donald Trump is not a perfect man, as we all know, but Donald Trump has done some marvelous things in the vision vein. It's when he comes out and says, they're not only coming for me, but they're coming for you. I'm standing in the way, and things like that. I mean, he's setting a bar. He's setting a vision. So that is the way I view John F. Kennedy. That's the way a number of people view John F. Kennedy. Very few people denounced, shall we say, government or John F. Kennedy because of his personal indiscretions. We had learned, we had moved on. Another guy who kind of messed up along the way is this particular fellow here, Ronald Reagan, president during the 1980s in the United States of America. Now, longer about 1987, there was a governmental scandal of which Ronald Reagan knew little to nothing of. And the scandal involved trading arms for hostages. And it was dirty and it was murky, and there were these really creepy characters like Admiral Poindexter. It was just this seamy, John Deutsch of the CIA, just people that if you looked at them, you had to take a shower, for crying out loud. And this all went on, without Ronald Reagan's knowledge. Now, people could say, well, he knew. Well, honestly, truthfully, he was an actor by trade before he got into politics. George Murphy, an actor, later Senator George Murphy, got him interested in that. They were friends. George Murphy out of New Haven, back when New Haven was New Haven. George Murphy went to Yale, back when Yale was Yale. But how could I put it? Reagan found out about this and was shocked, and it was horrible because it was one of these situations that our politicians seem to be walking into every single day these days, is that you're either ignorant, and in this case, they were saying, is he senile? Has he lost it? Or you are complicit. Which one is worse? Well, Ronald Reagan came out before the American people. You could read about the Iran-Contra affair longer about 1987 and trading arms for hostages. But Reagan came out before the American people and said, I blew it. I absolutely positively blew it. This is something I should have known something about and a lot, but I didn't. And I'm going to clean house, and I'm going to fix this thing. And it was the lesson. Ronald Reagan, for years, Ronald Reagan was anything but a dumb man, but he was called dumb in a lot of cases. And I mean, it's you look at what passes today as a politician. I mean, Senator Chris Murphy is a dumb man. And it's, a dumb, unaccountable man. But Ronald Reagan was anything but a dumb man. And the person that called him dumb was Richard Nixon. But Richard Nixon, brilliant Richard Nixon, when he found out about the Watergate burglary, if he had confessed that 10 days later, these wacky doodle people went in and did this, and I didn't tell them to go as far as they did, and they did, and it's a shame, and I'm sorry for it, and let's move on. We probably would have seen 2 terms of Richard Nixon, but brilliant Nixon was brilliant, and stupid Reagan. The Reagan legacy we look at today with awe. It's not perfect, mind you. It's down towards the end, it was a little rough with Nancy Reagan and her astrological charts. I've got some stories about that, not for this show. But basically, how could I put it? Stupid Reagan saved his presidency and went on and continued to do, to a large extent, great work, but, again, not perfect. Again, he's a human. Now, by repenting and coming before the American people, he regained confidence. Now, these other guys, this guy, Mickey Mantle, did repent for the bad things he did in his life, and it was sad. He did so right before he died. He was a horrible drinker. I mean, terrible drinker. Couldn't remember games he had played in. It was that bad. A horrible womanizer. And he, Pat Summerall, some of you may remember Pat Summerall, who was a New York Giants football player, long career in television sports. They were very good friends. They'd played in the minor leagues going way back. And Pat said, Mickey, you got to go to Betty Ford and get yourself cleaned up. And he did. And he made peace with his family, made peace with his sons, made peace with his wife. He was horribly unfaithful, but they stayed married. And maybe had about a year where he was relatively healthy. And right after that, contracted cancer and passed on. And it was I believe it was liver cancer, if I remember correctly. But he did repent, and he and Jim Bouton did make peace, because Mickey didn't, Mickey didn't care about how he was. Mickey said, "I'm a human being." John F. Kennedy wasn't around long enough to repent for what he did, if he was a mind to. But Ronald Reagan did, and he managed to, continue on his legacy. But we walk into an age that we walk into today, and what do we see? Each one of these men had a vision and kept moving forward regardless of their frailties. But hey, we live in Connecticut, and we have our leader, King Governor Ned Lamont, the unaccountable, the man that saved us through COVID and saved our lives and did incredibly wonderful things, and got a money tree going to his family through some medical testing company, and contemplated with Scott Gottlieb of Pfizer a society based on COVID-19 with testing and tracing and leading to a vaccine, and incarcerating people in hotels, and continuing to, while keeping us safe every time, ringing the cash register. And I'm not telling a tall tale. I've shown the letter on Twitter, where he and Gottlieb, and actually not Lamont, but Gottlieb and Slavitt. Lamont was shall we say, a very fortuitous beneficiary of what was being contemplated of the world with COVID. And as time goes on, we've watched some of the things he's tried to pull. Some of the things I believe we've stopped because we have called it to public attention. His media, which is the state corporate media, which he and his politicians fund with megabucks, will not say these things about them, will not show them, but they go to their supporters. And, the weak-minded, probably the people going back here, is like, the parish priest can't possibly be doing that. Well, bring that forward. The same people that are saying, oh, it's nothing but conspiracy. Oh, he already explained that. Oh, he never made any money talking about Semaphore. And they are turned off entirely to anything this man might have done in reality. And, oh, yeah, talk all you want, but he's the man that saved your life during COVID. I mean, if Ned Lamont was my last chance at saving my life, I can't imagine what I would do at that point. Here's a guy who, is, it's funny. It's really funny. We had this incident, actually. This was on Sunday, June 23rd. The travelers in the state of Laughingstock of Connecticut, of the climate protesters jumping on the 18th hole of the green of a world golf tournament. and basically wanting to save the world from climate. Now, the unaccountable here, if it were a responsible governor, I think if it were a DeSantis or a Youngkin or somebody who were very concerned, they would be like, I'm sorry, this is not going to happen. We're not like that, and would cause an investigation as to why it happened, because this is money, this is commerce, this is something happening here. I don't know if these golfers are going to come back, basically. Listen, would you? I mean, you're playing for millions of dollars and these lummox monkeys jump on the court. I'm sorry, the course. And you've got this guy here who a week later is found with COVID-19 in some vacation somewhere. I mean, basically, but he saved us through COVID, right? And then as you get more into COVID and you get into more of McKinsey running the dictates of the powers that are way above Ned Lamont, running the money and actually pushing this thing out and going forward, he shows up every day more and more as a useful idiot to the populace. So, but what you've done is that you have created people like him and people like Chris Murphy and people like Jim Himes and people like Rosa DeLauro and people like, shall I say, milquetoasty, go-along Republicans nationally and state. They've created this thing of, these are people who are, we need these people to, shall we say, live, to protect us, to give us what we need. Tell that to the people in Hartford that aren't getting their food cards. But that's what we do. And, it's like we have to venerate these people. So when they do something stupid, when they lie, when they, of course, they're buying the media out as they do it. When they when they make a disaster, we don't have the accountability. And the other thing is, there are so many people dependent upon him. They don't want to believe what he's really like. And there's politicians in our entire legislature who, whether they know it, they won't say it. We have a Republican Party that won't touch the corruption. And I mean, to me, that's shameful. I mean, why is that acceptable, Republicans? Why do you allow it? Well, saying that you can't stop it is not a good enough reason. I could stop a car if I go out on, Route 169 in Pomfret by laying down the road. Now, I may get hit. I may get run over. That's a judgment I have to make, but maybe I don't have to get run over. Maybe I can do it with a sign. I mean, nothing, absolutely positively nothing. And it's documented fraud, and it's documented racketeering, and nobody does anything. That's just an aside. But that all said, when people look at this, they are now so dependent and so weak-minded on the system, they don't want him to go anywhere. He is shall I say, I think people were seeing through him now more so than ever because he hasn't brought the goods. He was great when he was handing out COVID money, right? It's like, your drunken uncle coming to town and buying everybody dinner, and, while he hangs with a couple of floozies at the bar, but, that's all gone. And basically, he's where he's at. And because they have dumbed down and made society so weak and made people so feeble, that they're not inclined to do anything themselves and to generate and to grow themselves because they don't know how, because they've been entirely socially dependent on the likes of people like him. Now, if you think that's bad, you like peanut butter, you love Skippies, how about this? Here is a man through 3.5 years, 4 years, basically, I don't know if this man could be living outside of the assisted care facility at Whitney Center in Hamden. What have we seen? His mind works occasionally. He can't articulate. He's been incontinent. Sorry, he has. He can't focus on things. He can't take questions. He can't lead. He's being driven by communist powers above him, which, kind of like an elderly abused person where he has a loser son who wants him to sign a promissory note to the bank so the son could get $50,000 out to gamble. And this man is the leader of the United States of America. He is not only a cause for shame, he is a cause for, to me, a huge security risk. People were saying after the disastrous debate, get rid of him, get rid of him. Look who's behind him. Don't be so quick to say that. It's I'd rather be dealing with this than dealing with his, shall we say, legal successor right now. I don't want to see what's going to happen in the world to the financial markets, to the systems, and to everything else if that were the president, his successor. We would be looking at a world of shutdowns for climate change and governmental grants to deal with the trauma of climate change anxiety. Really, for real. You don't believe me? Go look at a couple of videos. Stop watching stupid Channel 8 and Channel 3 and look to see what's happening in the world. That all said, this man is the cause of national shame and is now causing great national insecurity for what he has done in the past. Lord only knows what went on. And not only the bad policy decisions. I don't even know at this point if they were his. If it was like somebody taking an elderly person's hand and say, hey, write this will, and make me your beneficiary. That's basically the kind of thing that is a national shame and laughingstock. I'm not going to get into Jim Himes. I mean, that's a pathetic lecture for 20 minutes, or Chris Murphy. I mean, it's, how could I put it? It's what we said last week. Saul Alinsky, lie, deny, keep pushing, and then unfortunately die. But now what we didn't have back here, what we didn't have here, what we didn't have when Jim Bouton wrote the book, what we didn't have during the days of Kennedy, is that we have a nation of broken, dependent people, many of them horribly mentally ill, beyond belief, dependent on what government will give them. Their, shall I say, gender accommodation surgery and things like that, which is going to cause horrible mental illness coming down. You're literally buying a supplicant and a vote going into the future. And it's just teaching them, rooting out history, teaching things about critical race theory and diversity, equity, and inclusion, that we must have people of color regardless in a given thing. And it's like, I don't care if, I was about to say something which I'm not going to say because it may insult some people, but and would not be my intention to, but insult anyone, but I don't care what color your skin is. There should only be two colors. I'm going to stop this share. This is actually breaking my heart to look at this man. But there should only be two colors that we're dealing with: transparency and competency. And what we didn't have in the days of the Catholic Church scandals and the Iran-Contra scandals and the Kennedy scandals and the Balfour Mickey Mantle scandals is that we now have a bunch of pathetic people. And I'm not saying this to be critical. I'm saying this because it breaks my heart that government has made them dependent on whatever they may do. And these are people. I've discussed this with people of color, who many of them are now beginning to see that the system is their enemy. The system gave them a little bit and gave them a little bit and gave them a little. So you have to give me a little more. Why is he getting that? And I'm getting. And it's like, now they've come to the end of the road and they've realized when there's nothing to give, these people, the Lamonts, the Bidens, are really in this for themselves. They don't care about you. Do you get that? But the problem that we deal with now in 2024 that we didn't deal with in 1961 and 1997 and 1970 is that so much of our younger population is so beaten down by government because all they need to know, all they know is to receive. All they know is to receive. They can't create, they can't build. Now, we're really at a point where if we could get all as much of that out of the way and have people start building again, we can change things. But if we don't do something like that in America, if people aren't being bold, we're just going to keep having this generation of, young ladies that hide under the table during a climate change anxiety episode. I mean, I can't tell you how close we are to this. It's just incredibly sick. And this is why a Himes, a Biden, a Lamont, go hide somewhere, totally the unaccountable, or a Blumenthal, where you never see them when something happens, is because they know what they are and they're hoping you forget and they get on to the next thing and they dial up their media accordingly. Well, it's your job to save yourself, is to become as independent as possible of these clowns and challenge them every single place you can. The good news is we can still do it. The other news is we are so beaten down as a society by the garbage and the rot and the dependency that government has handed us that it's going to be a harder road, but we can do it. And we can do even more in this show. It's Tony D'Angelo here in 30 with Tony. We'll be right back right after this.
Hello fun seekers. Since we like to mix fun with business, please enjoy another video classic clip, courtesy of the producers of 30 with Tony.
Today's classic clip is the trailer from Yankee Doodle Dandy, made in 1942. Yankee Doodle Dandy, 1942, is a vibrant and patriotic biographical musical film that chronicles the life and career of George M. Cohan, one of the most influential figures in American musical theater. Directed by Michael Curtiz, the film stars James Cagney in a role that earned him an Academy Award for Best Actor. The story begins with an elderly Cohan being invited to the White House, where he recounts his life story to President Franklin D. Roosevelt. The narrative then flashes back to Cohan's childhood in Providence, Rhode Island, where he performed with his family in a vaudeville act known as The Four Cohans. Despite their modest beginnings, George's natural talent and ambition drive the family towards greater success. Cohan's big break comes with the Broadway hit, Little Johnny Jones, which includes the iconic song, Give My Regards to Broadway. The film follows Cohan's rise to fame as a playwright, composer, and performer, highlighting his creation of beloved patriotic songs like Yankee Doodle Dandy, You're a Grand Old Flag, and Over There. These songs became anthems of American patriotism, especially during World War I and World War II. The film also delves into Cohan's personal life, exploring his relationships with his family and his wife, Mary, played by Joan Leslie. It portrays Cohan as a dedicated and hardworking artist who never loses sight of his patriotic duty, even as he enjoys immense success and wealth. One of the film's most memorable scenes is Cagney's spirited tap dance down the stairs of the White House, showcasing his unique style and capturing Cohan's exuberant personality. The film's choreography, musical numbers, and heartfelt performances contribute to its lasting appeal. Yankee Doodle Dandy was released during World War II, and its themes of patriotism and resilience resonated deeply with audiences at the time. The film was a critical and commercial success, earning 8 Academy Award nominations and winning 3, including Best Actor for Cagney. Overall, Yankee Doodle Dandy remains a classic of American cinema, celebrated for its entertaining portrayal of a showbiz legend and its inspiring message of national pride and perseverance. And now, the trailer.
Curtain going up. Curtain going up. Places, please. Overture. Stand by.
I'm a Yankee Doodle Dandy, Yankee Doodle do or die, a real live nephew of my Uncle Sam, born on the 4th of July. He's got a Yankee Doodle sweetheart, she's his Yankee Doodle joy. Yankee Doodle came to London just to ride the pony, he is a Yankee Doodle boy.
Only 45 minutes from Broadway.
I was born in Virginia, that's the state that will win ya. Give my regards to Broadway, remember me to Herald Square. H-A-W-R-I.
G-A-N spells Harrigan. So long, Mary.
Mary, we will miss you so. You're a grand old flag, you're a high flying flag.
For it was Mary, Mary, plain as any name can be.
My mother thanks you. My father thanks you. My sister thanks you. And I thank you. Why are you so concerned with Fay Templeton?
Oh, I don't care for Templeton. I'm looking out for you.
Ever think about yourself?
Not much lately. Haven't had time. The minute I saw you without your beard, I knew here was a little boy who needed a lot of looking after. So I gave myself the job. There are a lot of singers, you know, but very few really good looker-afters. I'm not interested in Mr. Cohan or his plays.
Well, now you're making a great mistake, Fay. He's the most original thing that ever hit Broadway. You know why? Because he's the whole darn country squeezed into one pair of pants.
Say, Dad, will you talk to Josie and tell her just because she's going to be married, there's no reason to break up the act?
George, I'm afraid your mother and I are breaking up the act before Josie's.
You hear that, Sam? All three of them walking out on me. You get that curtain up. You can't ring down on a George M. Cohan song.
Over there, send the word over there, that the
Everybody
Yanks are
sing!
coming,
The Yanks are coming, the drums drumming everywhere. So prepare, say a prayer. Send the word to beware. We'll be over, we're coming over, and we won't come back till it's over there.
We will be back soon with more 30 with Tony.
Hey, Google, let me out of here!
Back after this.
And the sign said, long-haired freaky people need not apply. So I tucked my hair up under my hat and I went in to ask him why. He said, you look like a fine, upstanding young man. I think you do. So I took off my hat. I said, imagine that. Me working for you. Whoa, sign, everywhere I sign. Blocking out the scenery, breaking my mind. Do this, don't do that. Can't you read the sign said anybody caught trespassing would be shot on sight. So I jumped on the fence and I yelled at the house, hey, what gives you the right? Put up a fence to keep me out or to keep Mother Nature in. If God was here, he'd tell you to your face, man, you're some kind of sinner. Sign, everywhere a sign, blocking out the scenery, breaking my mind. Do this, don't do that, can't you read the sign? Now hey you, mister, can't you read? You got to have a shirt and tie to get a seat. You can't even watch, no, you can't eat. You ain't supposed to be here. Sign said you got to have a membership card to get inside. And the sign said, everybody welcome, come in, kneel down and pray. But when they passed around the plate at the end of it all, I didn't have a penny to pay. So I got me a pen and a paper, and I made up my own little sign. I said, thank you, Lord, for thinking about me. I'm alive and doing fine. Woo! Sign, everywhere a sign. Blocking out the scenery, breaking my mind. Do this, don't do that, can't you read the sign? Everywhere a sign.
Well, thanks, Kemosabe's. Thanks for staying with us. I'm not going to keep you for a really long time today. Get back and have a little fun. After all, it is the 4th of July. Again, the last thing they want is your independence. Don't let them take it from you. But since we've had poetry and we've insulted people and done a lot of things in this segment, I thought we might want to have some George Washington patriotic jokes and president jokes. How about that? So I will begin. What would you get if you crossed the first U.S. president with an animated character? George Washington. If you crossed a vegetable with our first president, what would you get? George Squashington. Did you hear the one about the crooked George Washington? Maybe the crooked Netherlands. No, the crooked George Washington, he committed valley forgery. If George Washington were alive today, why couldn't he throw $1 across the Potomac? Because in inflationary times, $1 does not go as far as it used to. But there's a little story. The current POTUS was starting to see ghosts in the White House. And one night he got up, I guess he took off the CPAP machine, and he saw the ghost of George Washington. And he said, "I'm in trouble. What do I do?" And the ghost of George Washington said, "President Biden, never tell a lie." Okay, went back to bed. The next night, he saw the ghost of Thomas Jefferson, still troubled, and said, "President Jefferson, what do I do?" And Thomas Jefferson said, "Listen to the people." Okay. Put the machine on, went back to bed. Now, a couple of weeks later, he's pacing the floor. He sees the ghost of Abraham Lincoln. And he says, "I'm still troubled. President Lincoln, what do I do?" He says, "I got a suggestion for you. Get Jill and go to the theater." It's Tony D'Angelo here at 30 with Tony. Thanks, King Masabis. Have a great 4th. So happy to have you here today. And we'll come back with a better show next week. As Dick Clark used to say in American Bandstand, so long. God bless you. God bless America.